Hello, and welcome to A Rum with a View. Two middle-aged white guys snorkeling their way through the primordial soup of YouTube, banging on about the movies they love, and drinking rum. With, in my case, a brown liquid, and in your case, an orange liquid, or is it yellow?
Tropical juice. So, yeah.
Oh, very nice. Well, I'm Stu.
And I'm Alan.
What's this week's film, Alan?
It is, well, the one and only, really. It's Goodfellas.
Yes, it's Goodfellas. We both show the DVD/Blu-ray cover on screen. Oh, no, I'm reading instructions. Right, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
According to Wikipedia, the 33rd sweariest movie of all time.
Yeah, I agree with it.
yeah. Sounds about right. Released in 1990, directed by Martin Scorsese, the pronunciation of whose name I will no doubt murder during this conversation, but, there's a lot of murders in the film, so that's not appropriate.
I will murder other people's names.
You will, yes. Between us, a lot of names are going to get murdered tonight, especially with all weird Cockney accents.
They're going to get whacked a lot.
We're going to get whacked. Things are going to get whacked. What's your history with the film, Alan? When did you first see it? Did you see it when it first came out? Because we're old.
Yeah, exactly. We're old enough that but we would have both been in our very early adulthood when this came out. So I don't remember seeing it at the cinema, but I do remember seeing it a lot on DVD and on TV, a hell of a lot, especially during the 1990s. So yeah, growing up as a young adult, I probably got to see this in the decade of the 90s. I would probably say I got to see this film at least about 5 or 6 times. Because it's such a cultural hit when it did come out. It was a big touchstone. There's an old saying like where people say that, I always remember where I was when JFK was shot. There's very much a kind of before and after of certain things that happened, and this, I think, was one of the big things in the cinematic world. There's very much a before Goodfellas and an after Goodfellas of the films that have been, that were released before 1990 and after. And you can see that very much so with Tarantino when he released Reservoir Dogs in 91 as well.
I'm just trying to remember the first time I actually saw it, and I really can't. My earliest memory of this film, I was like 15 when it came out. So I wasn't quite old enough to go and see it because it was rated 18 here in the UK, which means, nothing under 18. In English, you can't go and see it if you're under 18. And I must have seen it on telly at some point, and I probably heard some of the buzz about it because I was paying attention to things like the Oscars and all that sort of thing back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I must have seen it on telly and just thought, wow, this is a bit grown up. They're all like swearing and killing each other lots, and all this kind of thing. Well, but I think I probably rediscovered it when I was at university, something like that. And I watched a lot of movies there that
I remember us discussing this in the student union bar together quite a few times.
So that would be like late 90s or something like that, I suppose.
Yeah, so late 90s. I remember us discussing this.
Okay.
Very much so. And Tarantino and other aspects of the kind of gangster genre of cinema, and that would have been the late 1990s.
From beginning to end, this film is all movement, it's all energy, it's all speed. The opening credits, they race across the screen like a speeding Chevy. The climax is like a cinematic representation of being on coke. Yep. Not the
third act is just incredible. It really is.
Yeah. That sort of 10, 15 minutes of just like solid.
Yeah. And the editing, I just want to start this now. The editing for the third act is just incredible. And so many filmmakers and movies executives have said, can you do the ending like the third act of Goodfellas? And like, no, we can't.
I'm not Martin Scorsese, and I'm not. Who's the editor? I can't be the editor.
Editor.
Oh, you've got it written down, have you?
Thelma Schoolmaker.
Oh, Thelma Shoemaker. Yeah.
Schoolmaker.
Schoolmaker. How do you pronounce it?
And
She was
absolutely
his regular collaborator, wasn't she? Yeah,
exactly. She worked quite a lot with Martin Scorsese. Well, both of them worked together with the editing as well. So he was heavily involved in editing because that's where he started in movies. Martin Scorsese was in editing.
That's right.
He started out.
That's right. Before we go any further into this movie, I've got to say, well, I'm apparently picking my nose, but I'm not. That was just a screen freezing, which it's going to do. Hopefully not as much as last time we tried to do this, but our internet connection here is rubbish.
Please forgive me for my grainy image.
Your grainy image is not that. It's fine. It's fine. When the channel takes off and we're millionaires, yes, then we can spend all our hard-earned cash on expensive camera recording equipment and microphones and all that good stuff. But for the time being, we're going to have to make do with crap. One thing I want to say about this,
really.
Yes. This video is all about content, not form. Talking Heads approach, not the band. I've got to say, major spoiler alert.
Yes.
I might as well. I don't know if I can do this in post, but I'm going to try and put up some sort of thing that just says spoilers. Like we're going to have to do like a spoiler gesture or something.
Yeah.
That just means, because it's going to be hard to talk about the film, talk about the story without spoiling some of it.
Yeah.
But we'll try and do. I mean, let's try and do a big spoiler warning when they're coming up, right?
Exactly. Okay.
As best we can.
Yeah, but the one thing that how much we know this movie, and a lot of people actually have probably already seen this movie anyway. It's hard to avoid. But how much? Because obviously I've recently, we both recently watched this movie, but I've recently gone through the commentaries on the DVD as well, on the Blu-ray anyway, which was from what notes I made was it was done back in 2004.
Right.
How much of the film do you know is based on a true story? How much of that do you know?
I don't. All I know about the true story is what is in the film. I've never read the book that it's based on.
It comes up, based on a true story, and it's based on the book of Wise Guy by Nick. I'm going to murder his surname, but Nicholas.
Do you want me to have a go?
Please do. Yeah.
Nicholas Pileggi, I think is pronounced.
That's it, Pileggi. He wrote a book. Called Wise Guy, and very much based on what he witnessed around his neighborhood in New York, and that of a gentleman called Henry Hill, who's the main character in this movie. And from going through what extras and bits and pieces, because there is actually one with Henry, there's a commentary with Henry Hill himself, and an FBI agent, and it's quite really revealing. And what you may not already know is obviously certain things are going to be a little bit dramatized, and of course the timing of things is going to be slightly out because you can't do a true story with making a film. It's all got to be slightly modulated and cut up a bit, but pretty much what you see in this movie did actually happen. And there's going to be a lot of scenes that everybody can say, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Like the bit with the postman. Yeah, that actually happened. There's all sorts of bits of pieces. So when you are watching it, do bear in mind this is all true. And actually, a lot of the real people are actually in the movie as well. So there are actually some real gangsters. So do you know the shot where they go into the restaurant? Not the brilliant one in the Copacabana, but the beginning one where you're a funny guy. Oh yeah, I'm a really funny guy. It's the panic. It's about a 2-minute introductory shot where they're going through, seeing all these sort of like Italian gangsters in the restaurant.
All the names,
and the names. So a lot
Johnny
of them are real. A lot of them are actually real gangsters.
Do you mean the actors playing them are real?
The extras
themselves or playing.
A lot of them are playing themselves. And what was really revealing as well was when I was listening. This is again the commentary was done in 2004. That he was saying like none of these guys are alive now. Most of them have been whacked. Most of them have been assassinated and through mob warfare and all sorts of stuff. So it's quite cheap if you get the chance to go watch that commentary of Henry Hill and the FBI agent Ed McDonald. It's really revealing. So well worth a watch as well.
I may well do that at some
Interesting
point.
facts about that a bit later as well.
Okay. Let's talk about the director. This is Martin
Yeah,
Scorsese. He's one of
certainly.
America's great filmmakers. He's a legend, and even at this point in his career, he's about our age, about
Yeah,
50 or late
exactly.
40s,
Yeah.
I think. And even then, even back then, he'd already made a handful of all-time classics.
Yeah. Raging Bull.
Um,
It was just
yeah,
finished Colour of Money before they
yeah.
did Goodfellas. So yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and a very, very, very prolific filmmaker as well. He does. I mean, he was doing a film at least one, probably a film a year, a film every 18 months at
yeah,
that point, something like that. And but the funny thing is, I mean, despite he sort of got a reputation for doing gangster movies, I was
yes,
looking at his filmography, and he actually hasn't done that many. I mean,
mm,
at that point,
yeah,
all he'd really, I mean, Mean Streets, I guess, is
yeah,
pretty much a gangster movie. Raging Bull has got that sort of element of the
mm,
organized crime thing
the
impinging on
underground, yeah,
the boxer's life.
yeah,
Boxcar Bertha has got a sort of crime drama, but this is really his first. I guess this is his sort of take on the similar sort of material to what The Godfather was doing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, they're very different films, of
Well,
course.
that's true. I mean, they're similar but very different. I mean, yes, they're gangster movies, and it's like mob bosses and all that sort of thing. But The Godfather is complete fiction. Well, certain aspects of it are kind of true, but it's kind of
Yeah,
all made up. It's all kind of like based on what stories already came out of Italy at the time. But this is a true story. This actually happened. This is a lot of the characters in the movie are real people, and real people died, and not even knowing that, even if you just watch it thinking it is just a mob story, it's really shocking. It's really, really violent.
yes,
I did get to watch this a couple of weeks ago with my son for the first time, and he was kind of even blown away. And I was like, this was made in the 90s. It's a mob film. It's a gangster film. It is violent. I gave him a heads up, gave him a fair warning before, and he was like, this is really full on. And obviously,
yeah,
it's like people that are already used to kind of I want to say cartoon violence with kind of like the comic book sort of Marvel movies, but people that are quite averse to action movies, this is still very violent. It's very shocking. It's very raw, and it really slaps you around the face quite a few times.
and whenever you see, red light in the movie, that
Yeah,
means it's like oranges. Whenever you see oranges in The Godfather, like there's going to be
yeah,
trouble. There's going to be imminent violence or death. And
yeah.
whenever you see red light, it's.
Well,
I mean, I don't mean a red light like a light source. I mean like whenever the screen is bathed in red light coming from somewhere off screen, it means there's going to be trouble. And I mean, even the title card is in, because it's the opening title white,
but the first scene of the film opens in the middle of the film, which is lovely. I love that fact that the first bit is the beginning.
You're in the car driving down the road. Yeah,
exactly. And then the thumping from the boot, and then them opening the boot, and the guy that's in there isn't dead, and then they make sure he is dead. And that again is just very hard hitting right from the get go. It's right in your face. It slaps you straight away. So it's not hiding its punches or anything like that. It's really just going full force straight into it. And it is a shocking tale. It's a very much kind of a rags to riches and then back to rags again kind of movie. Actually, I'd say rags, riches, rags, riches, rags, riches.
And there's a lot of what's interesting is the way it's an incredibly stylized movie. It's like there's freeze frames, there's crash zooms, there's whip pans, there's dolly zoom, there's a fourth wall break towards the end, there's a partridge in a bloody pear tree. It's all constantly reminding us that this is just a movie. Now, I just want to one point I wanted to make about that, which is something I've always kind of felt about Scorsese's films generally, is that I think when the stylistic choices are that aggressive, it kind of disconnects me emotionally from what's going on. But the sort of heightened reality and the sort of the power, the aggression of that style, the sort of the excessive style, that makes up for it by engaging me viscerally and aesthetically. It's a similar thing to what happened because the following year he did Cape Fear,
Yes.
You know, his remake of Cape Fear, which is with Nick Nolte and De Niro again, and Jessica Lange and Juliette Lewis. And that was like, and that was even that was what Goodfellas in terms of style, maybe not quality, but well, that's whatever. But in terms of style, that takes what Goodfellas does and kind of takes it up to 11. You know, it's even more aggressive, and it's like it's an interesting sort of. It's kind of like it's like, you know, this is a movie, this is a movie, this is a movie, and yet the violence. Interestingly, the way the violence is portrayed tends to be a bit more. It's still stylized, but it's more. But the style doesn't sort of distract from the reality of the brutality of the violence. It actually enhances it.
Exactly. I mean, it's quite interesting. I mean, when one of the characters.
Is this a spoiler alert? Do we need a spoiler alert here?
When, for instance, well, what is his name? Billy.
Billy Batts.
Billy Bates. When Billy Batts is killed.
Yeah,
that's so horrific. Both parts, the part in the pub and the part at the end in the boot. I mean, the bit in the pub as well. When you actually watch them, and again, referring back to the commentary, there was this ferocity. If you watch like De Niro in that aspect, you can see him like they're going for the shoeing, the kicking this guy in, and really just beating the guy to death. And you can see his foot slip a couple of times when they're kind of doing it, and it actually feels like it's real life. They're actually just stomping on this guy.
Do you know? I know the shot you mean, because I noticed that today when I watched it this afternoon.
De Niro, it looks like De Niro's foot slips a couple of times, but he just keeps at it. And again, the bit with the gun at the end, where the gun breaks apart, they're hammering this guy so much that the gun that Tommy's using actually breaks up. I mean, that's how much they're beating this guy to a pulp. It is horrific. Again, it's a bit like the scene when Spider gets shot. It's not the spoiler.
Yes.
There'll be loads of this is the kid that gets shot in the foot by Tommy, portrayed by
Joe Pesci.
Which again is an amazing scene, and that actor went on to do Sopranos, which again came from
Christopher. What was he? Christopher Moltisanti.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Christopher.
Yeah, but the other thing, two aspects of that particular scene when Spider gets shot is that first off, Joe Pesci, when he did that, he wanted to use. Obviously, you don't. But when he did the shot, he wanted to actually use live rounds in a 45. Not to actually shoot the guy, but to actually get the feel and the ferocity of firing a loaded weapon.
Yeah.
And firing blanks and the sound of the real bullets being fired rather than just being blanks. And actually then the other commentary with, Henry Hill.
Henry Hill.
Yeah.
If only Harry Hill had been in Goodfellas, it would have been so much. It would have been a 10 rather than just
it's a low ceiling. That bar had a low ceiling to it, and smoke from the gun. We couldn't see anything after he actually shot him, because there was just so much smoke from the gun
in the room. Yeah,
kind of like, oh my god, he's actually killed him.
Jesus. I mean,
it's very brutal. I mean, the book is brutal,
it is,
but that's the other thing as well. Scorsese, when he read the book, he was like, he already had in his head how he wanted it to look. He wanted it to be brutal. He wanted it to be stark. He wanted it to be stylish. And in some ways, all the actors and the writers were saying it was actually so easy to work with Scorsese on this because Scorsese already had this in his head. And
he's just got to get it down on film.
Exactly, he's just got to get it down.
Like Hitchcock used to do, I believe. Yeah.
Because Scorsese did get in contact with Nicholas Pileggi to write the book. When he first got contacted, he thought it was a wind-up. And when he found out that it was actually Scorsese, he was like, I've been wanting to make this call for quite a few years. And Nicholas was like, well, I've wanted you to call me for quite a few years. So there was this collaboration between the two. And of course, Nicholas was very much aware that, he wrote the book, but to make it into a film, it was going to be very different. That's always is the case. It's a complete different medium. But it's amazing that they actually worked together on the screenplay for this film. And I think that's what made it work so well. That Scorsese had it in his mind, but both the book writer and the filmmaker just worked together to make this incredible picture.
I think we're painting a picture, no pun intended. We're painting a picture of this just being, for people who haven't seen it, they're probably thinking, "Oh God, this sounds really just unrelentingly violent and horrible," and just
we are.
and just I don't want to watch this.
No, we don't want to put people off. Certainly,
but here's the thing: it's ostensibly a drama. In fact, a biopic, right, about a real person.
Full on biopic.
But so much of the film is written and directed as full-on comedy.
Yeah,
I would say, like, it's got visual punchlines. Like, for example, I'll give you a couple of examples. When Henry and Karen are getting married.
Yes.
And they're doing the like people. It's like a close shot on her, I think, and she's got people are just coming up to her and kissing her and saying, "Oh, congratulations!" and giving her little envelopes with pictures of Benjamin Franklin on the front, full of cash, and you don't see how much cash is in them. You just see the thickness, and some of them are like an inch thick, and some of them are like envelope after, and he's just putting them in a bag. And she's like saying, like, and then she sort of like has a quick breather, and she sort of looks off to to her right where the people are, and it just cuts to a wide shot of this endless queue of people with their envelopes sort of like queuing, waiting to go. Yeah. It's like something out of Airplane. It's literally a joke. Like it's a sight gag, right?
Yeah.
And I love that. I thought that was brilliant. And there's another example, slightly different thing, but Tommy and Henry are in the car outside the restaurant, which is called, I'm doing this from memory, I think it's the Bamboo Lounge, and the building, they've gone in and like trashed the place, and they're having and it's a sort of wide shot of the restaurant, front of the restaurant, with the car at night, with the car in front, with them sitting in the car, and then it cuts to a two shot of them in the car arguing about, I want to take this girl out, but she says she won't go out and tell me, unless I go with I take a friend with her, but I need someone to make up a double date. You want to call me on a double date, And Henry's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested." And I was like, "No, come on, you get the call, because I want to get my leg over." Americans don't say leg over. Yeah. And then it's arguing about it. It's like, "Yeah, all right, I'll go." And then it cuts back to that first wide shot, and you see that the building is literally on fire. It's caught fire where they were talking about. Yeah, it's let's go. Yeah. It's really fun. It's actual comedy. It's not just a funny drama. It's a comedy drama.
It is. Exactly, it is hilarious. I mean, everybody will talk about the classic scene of you're a funny guy, you're a really funny guy. What kind of funny am I?
I've got things to say about that in a minute. Yeah, exactly. I think the scene you're talking about. Let's just dive into that scene. I think do you think I'm funny? You think I'm funny? You think I'm funny? What do I amuse you? I'm like a clown. You think I'm funny? And spoiler alert again. Yeah, he's it's a really tense scene, but it's it's funny as well because he's winding him up. He's just pulling his leg from him. So I mean,
interjecting here, I don't know if you noticed that with the shot, it's not a closed-in shot. You've got the background; it's a bit of a wider shot, so you've got the reaction of the people around the two characters, which is
they're all sort of doing this,
exactly like, oh my God, is it because this was the thing, a lot of these guys didn't know if they were going to get whacked at any moment, sort of like, because they were like living life on a knife edge.
I mean, that scene it's the whole movie in microcosm, isn't it? It's like it undulates between funny and tense and scary, and it's all, like you say, the threat, the sword of, not Damocles, but whatever, the sort of Paulie, I suppose, is hovering over, it's hanging over their heads all the time.
Oh, exactly.
It's like, is this a joke though? Is this still a joke? Is he just pulling up longer, or is he actually going to pull a gun?
Yes.
And I think, and it's all built on like these masculine, because it's it's an all male environment, and it's like it's built on these sort of masculine insecurities about being taken seriously, especially if, like Tommy, you're a mouthy short ass. And it's crude, all male, what we would call working class kind of humor that's mean and sort of to people who, like, it's the sort of jokes you can only say to your friends, I can call you a C word. We can call each other a C word and not take offense. I'm not going to say it because you tell me to swear on these videos. Right? Yeah, exactly. To us, it's a term of it because if you call someone the C word, it means you know and like, maybe even love and trust them enough to say it and not worry about reprisals. This is a similar sort of thing. It's like, sorry, there's a moth or something. Just
I've got
on my glasses, I think.
Yeah, I've got.
I've got an Italian American moth taking issue with what I'm saying about his people. Yeah, but no, it's a similar thing to that. It's that kind of it could turn at any moment, though, you know. And if it does turn, someone like Spider is going to get shot, or killed. I mean, you know, and I do find the film very funny. The humor is often very brutal. I've got to say, I just want to say though, there are some scenes where the humor is like a couple of times. I thought it's like early on, I was kind of thinking, God, this is like this is. The humor is too much even for my. I've got a pretty dark sense of humor, and some of this is too dark for me. It's like, for example, when like the scene where Jimmy is trying to get Maury, the wig guy, to pay him the money, and like, you know, Henry's trying to sort of talk Maury down. Like, you just pay him, pay him. He's going to come over. He's going to come over and beat you up. Yeah. And like, and then Jimmy, you know, Robert De Niro, he comes over to Maury, the wig guy, and he literally puts a phone call around his neck and starts strangling him. And it's like, it's shocking and it's horrible.
Yeah.
And what is Henry standing there watching? Now, in another film, in most other films, Henry would sort of go, "Oh, I'm going to try and move slowly so I don't freeze."
Yeah.
Oh no, oh Jimmy, stop doing that! Don't do that. But no, he doesn't do that. He just starts laughing like a clown. He just starts laughing like a drone. Sorry, like, you know, you know, it's like that's like nasty. That is downright psychopathic.
It is nasty, but I know the reason why he laughed there, because if you noticed in that bit, his wig comes loose.
Oh yeah. It does. It sort of flops forward, doesn't it? Like
okay,
this.
So two bits is the early part of that scene is Maury, you know, advertising his shop.
Oh, the advert, the cheesy advert.
The wigs don't come off, and then Morty gets throttled, and his wig comes off. That wasn't supposed to happen. The wig, it was actually accidental in the movie, and that's why he laughs, because it did.
So the laugh was genuine.
The laugh was genuine, but they kept it in because it did work so well with the scene. Because you're right, that kind of camaraderie, that kind of, you know, if someone's being throttled and stuff, I think it's not going to be, it's going to be, they're just going to laugh at it because they're in with it. And that's why Marty kept it, rather than, because they did do the scene quite a few times, but they kept that one because they just it felt genuine. So, but yeah, there's some amazing shots and scenes and editing in this film. It's just, I mean, the classic one is the entrance to the Copacabana nightclub. Yeah. Where that's that constant Steadicam shot as they walk down the steps, through the queue, down into the kitchen, all the way through the backs of the kitchen, into the lobby of the Copacabana, getting a table set up for them straight away.
Right in front of the band.
Right in front of the band, sitting down, tablecloth, you know, champagne being poured out for them, and then, you know, the comic guy coming up on stage.
The camera does, I think, in a lot of, I mean, you know, the Copacabana shot is the most famous one, you know, I like the way that, what I like about that shot, what it sort of, because it's like, part of you is like, oh, you're just showing off, aren't you? Because you staged it so well and you wanted to, but I think it does more. I think that having that unbroken shot, I think it does kind of underline the secretive nature of what it's like to live in as part of the underworld, because they're, you know, they're treated like, once they're in the club, like you say, they're treated like royalty.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, you know, but to get in there, they have to sneak around the back.
Exactly.
And it's also, you know, because they are illicit, they are like, you know, sort of, and interestingly enough, this is something I thought of afterwards. You know, it's a bit like what celebrities have to do with it. Like if Lady Gaga or Brad Pitt or somebody wants to go to a posh restaurant, they can't just walk in the front. They've got to be sneaked in around the side or the back. Or being that sort of successful and rich and famous or whatever, it can actually work against you in that way. No, exactly. But yeah, the camera, I mean, it just tends to sort of, in a lot of things, not just that shot. I mean, you know, like you said, there's a lot of moments where the camera just sort of tends to wander through the scene. Like it's a background character who just happens to be in the foreground because they're operating the actual camera.
Sorry, spoiler alert. This is only because of the particular shots and stuff that I thought were so well done. And do you remember the shot where there is towards towards the second half, and it's where a lot of the characters are being killed off after one of the big heists.
Oh yeah. When Jimmy gets everyone.
Yeah, where they're going to the back of that meat van, the frozen meat van.
Yeah.
What they did with that is that the camera was on a crane shot and steadily came down on the crane. And then as the crane shot, the cameraman with the same camera stepped off the crane and stepped onto the back of the truck.
Oh,
carried them into the back, into the back of the truck.
Steadicam, presumably.
Steadicam. So it started on a Steadicam on a crane coming down to the back of the truck, opening up, and then he literally just stepped into the back of the truck.
Because he could go straight in, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's a smooth movement. Yeah.
So beautifully done. And again, a lot of this stuff was not being done for the very first time, but it was kind of semi-groundbreaking. And this is one of the reasons why this film is held in such high regard, not just because of its content, it's just the way it was made, the way it was shot,
the technical
storytelling, the technicality, the acting capabilities, how things were rewritten and how much stuff was rewritten with the actors in mind, with the actors saying, oh yeah, I want to try this, and Scorsese said, let's give it a go, let's listen, it wasn't kind of like, no, we've got to do it my way, it's all my way. It was because there was a lot of involvement with this film from the actors, but also from the original source. They did have FBI agents. They had Henry Hill was there on the set pretty much all the way through the movie. Robert De Niro was constantly asking Henry about his character, about Jimmy, how Jimmy would hold a glass, how Jimmy would smoke a cigarette, how Jimmy would stand, how Jimmy would, when did he kick off? What was his temperament like? That they got quite a lot of stuff from the original source material, and of course you had the writer of the book there, the person who the film is actually based on, constantly on set. So it's not surprising Scorsese was able to make such a good movie.
I don't want to dwell too much. We've sort of discussed the violence a lot already, but what I think I'd be sort of interested to see. Not interested enough to have done any research, but before we started recording, but I would have been interested to see what the contemporary critical view was of the film. Because I was sort of imagining it's one of those movies where, sometimes a movie comes out and if it's got a lot of violence in it or a lot of sex in it or a lot of whatever, it's controversial and people are like, oh, should this be released and all this kind of, or whatever. I can imagine a sort of moralistic critic, maybe. I don't have any evidence for this, but I can imagine a sort of very moralistic critic saying something like, the film, arguing that the film kind of glamorizes crime and glamorizes violence and all that kind of, and they're not wrong, because it absolutely does do that.
Yeah, it does. But it does glamorize it.
It makes it look like fun. It makes it look great a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But it also, what those critics have chosen to disregard is that it also shows the downsides of that life without flinching. And I think this is kind of what you were saying earlier on about what you were saying earlier on about, you could get whacked at any moment. These gangsters, they live the good life, but they don't seem to live very long.
Yeah. Well, what they were saying was, again, in one of the commentaries, is the average, what they almost called a life cycle. So a life cycle would be either until they got whacked or until they went into jail, or something serious happened with them, was literally around about between 5 and 8 years, because something was going to happen. Either you were going to get arrested, you were going to get caught, or you were going to get hit because you did something wrong, or you were in association with something going wrong.
But if you went to prison, I mean, at first anyway, when we see Paulie and Henry and the other guys cooking dinner in prison and cutting up the garlic with a razor blade, I mean, I was watching it with my infinitely better half this afternoon, and when they're sort of sitting there making dinner and everything, and Henry, Ray Liotta, he comes in with a bag full of salami and cheese and all this food from outside, and I turned to her and I said, prison's a bit like holiday camp, really, isn't it?
If you were at the top end of the echelon, then yes.
Yeah, if you were in charge of the prison.
If you were just so in some ways, Henry again got it easy because he was in prison with Paulie at the time, and Paulie, what guy that was running everything.
Paulie after Paulie's out of prison, later on when Paulie's out of prison, because you then see Karen sort of comes to visit Henry in like in like Gen Pop, where it's just they're all everyone's all in the same room, and there's that shot to establish the scene where it's like a sort of a traveling I don't know the technical terms, but like a sort of dolly shot or whatever it's called, alongside this table with people like sitting on the side, and it's like it's like a shot of a row of tables, and it starts with like a guy literally just getting a blowjob sitting there at the table at one end, and then it pans across people having a chat, and at the other end there's a woman changing her baby's nappy, and I just thought it's like the circle of prison life, it's like blowjob at this end. You know what I mean? Like that's really made me laugh. I never noticed that before. I think the whole life, the underworld life, the criminal life, the life of the capital L that the film sort of depicts is like it's all like a big insult to ordinary, everyday, law-abiding society. You know what I mean? It's like, again, spoiler alert, but at the end of the film, he goes into the witness protection program, where he stayed for I don't know the rest of his life, but I mean, well, probably not because the movie was still in it. But anyway, it's like he's living in the suburbs in this sort of he says, "Oh, I can't get decent food anymore." What's that line he says? I ordered spaghetti marinara and they brought me like noodles and ketchup. It's like that Henry's ultimate punishment at the end of the film is to live life like a schnook, i.e. like almost everyone sitting there watching the movie. And then he gives us that sort of patronising smile to the camera, accompanied by Sid Vicious's sneer on the soundtrack, singing "My Way." And then it's like that, that shot of Tommy, from returning from the grave for a moment and shooting into the camera, like the gold. What's that? What's the movie? It's a reference to the Great Train Robbery, isn't it? The old film from the early days of cinema, the 1895, 1900, wherever it came out.
Another thing I want to bring up actually was I think how well the script was, or very much how like the acts. The film is very much broken into three individual acts. So you've got the first act, which is like the rise, coming into the mafia as a young boy, which it's always a really nice rags to riches sort of like beginning part, and then how well things are going and making it all look magical and fabulous. And a bit of the Copacabana and like
a coming of age movie sort of thing.
Coming of age and this but then you've got the middle act, which is then from the point where Billy Bratz is murdered. That's the beginning and the downfall. And like they're going into prison, and then you start getting the harsh reality of what this life is about. And then what I think is absolutely incredible is the final act, which we all know kind of like is the cocaine.
The coke act,
cocaine ending, which is just it's so differently shot. That's the other thing. It was not just the way it was shot, the editing in it as well. It's a really fast cuts with it. Like the bit where he's making the meatballs in the kitchen, he keeps looking back towards the door.
I noticed that bit as well.
So well shot, so well done, and I mean it's just a brilliant build towards the end.
I suppose that last act, the cokehead sequence, which is probably, it feels like, I mean, you're talking about it like it's a whole act, like it's 40 minutes or something, but that actual sequence, it's probably about 10 minutes, but it feels like it goes on forever. It's just like,
exactly.
It's so tense.
It is.
But I think that scene, it's like, you're talking about the editing. I mean, it's almost like, what they used to call MTV editing, like post 1980s action movies and stuff got lots of snappy editing, and it got kind of like, Sugar Rush kind of visuals and all that. And people used to use the term MTV editing as a sort of insult. But I think in this case, it's a compliment. It's used in a really exciting and terrifying and tense kind of way. And it's building to that climax where the cops, again, spoiler alert, spoiler. The cops, he gets pulled over by the cops, and they're like, and he thought, because he's seen the helicopter following him around all day. There's my helicopter mine. There you go. That's good, isn't it? And it didn't freeze the screen. And he thinks it's, what is it? He thinks it's the local cops keeping an eye on him, but it turns out they're the narcotics cops, the feds who've been following him around for months. So they've been recording his conversations and all this, and they're like phone conversations. and he's like, "Oh dear, I'm burgered. I'm completely and utterly burgered." He doesn't actually say that because that doesn't make any sense. But yes, he's right in the old what's Italian for shit, whatever the Italian. But yeah, and it's just like, but the climax is not like a sort of, you know, because it's not like an explosion type climax. It's more like a kind of a, it's more like a, oh no,
yeah, and then
it's
it
more
doesn't
like,
end.
it's not like,
That's the thing. You think it's going to end there at the end, and it doesn't. It then goes.
It goes on, yeah. It goes on for another 20 minutes, but it's not just falling action. It's like, well, the consequences of what of him getting caught.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then it gets tense again because they both think they're going to get killed.
Exactly. How did you feel about narration through the movie?
I'm going to come on to that in a minute.
That's an important part. Obviously, narration is one of those. It's kind of people love it or they hate it. You know, everybody can talk about Blade Runner and whether I like or dislike, but I think the narration in this just it brings it to a whole different level because it makes it feel true, more like a true story. And when you find out how true it is, it's even more. I'm just
scrolling down to my notes about the narration because I thought it was interesting that because just try and make it look natural, you know. Scroll, not listening. What was he saying? Yeah. I mean, Ray Liotta's, you know, who plays Henry, the main character, his voiceover, because I was going to ask you about this. I think his voiceover is very laid back. It's almost, he almost sounds kind of bored. Speaking of Blade Runner, it reminded me a little bit of Harrison Ford's voiceover on the original cut of Blade Runner, because I did think of that during the movie. I thought he sounds really kind of like, I didn't know what had happened to Rachel, you know, or whatever he says, like, you know, all my life I wanted to be a gangster. And he kind of sounds like he doesn't say it like, all my life I wanted to be a gangster. He says it like, all my life I wanted to be a gangster. He almost sounds like it's not a big deal. But at the end of the film, again, spoiler, you realize why his voiceover was so laid back and so bored and so kind of slightly pissed off. It's because we find out that he's telling the story at the end from a position of like comfortable defeat in this kind of mind-numbing, unexciting suburbia, which is maybe worse than death. I don't know from his point of view.
Well, in some ways it is, in some ways it isn't, because Henry Hill was saying at the end of the film, the commentary is like, you know, when it got to the end there, and I was, you know, went into the witness protection program, and, you know, it was like giving, you know, coughing up all the secrets and stuff. It's a kind of like, well, I've got to you before you've got to me. It's like I'm putting the nail in your coffin before you put the bullet in my head.
Because they probably would have killed him. Yeah,
they would.
He's convinced they would have killed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason why, you know, and he was pleading with Karen, his wife, to get into the protection because she didn't want to leave like her parents and everything else. And he was like saying, look, if you don't, you're going to be dead within days, literally. I mean,
because she's like
that was the other thing as well. Was I thought it was quite nice having dual narration, because obviously you got Karen's narration through it as well.
Yes, I've forgotten about that actually until I watched it this time. I suddenly because when she's introduced, it suddenly switches quite suddenly and quite abruptly. It switches to her like, you know, well, I always found him kind of exciting. I'm going to try a new impression. I'll just make her sound like a Monty Python character or something. I'll make her sound like an Essex fishwife, whatever that is.
Not an American Jewish woman.
Yeah, not a New York Jewish woman. Yeah, but she's sort of like interesting. Because she, like a lot of the other women in the family, capital T, capital F. Oh, the rum's kicking in. She has awesome powers of self-delusion, doesn't she? Like the evidence is all around her. You know, and also like Tommy's mum, when they go and see her for dinner, and they don't go to see her for dinner, they stop off to get whatever it is, a spade or whatever it is, and she's awake, and she wakes up and makes dinner for him in the middle of the night, and they literally walk in with blood all down their shirts, looking like a riot state, and they say, and she says like, oh, what happened to you? Look, you got blood all down your shirt, but what happened to you, Tommy? You know, and he's like, oh, we hit a deer coming in, we hit a deer, and we're trying to and we're like, and I'm sitting there like,
I know,
because we all know that it's not a deer; it's Billy Bats in the boot of the car, and like
exactly. And he's like, then at the dinner table, like saying, "Can I borrow this knife, Mum?"
and it's just so casual. And he's literally like the knife, and he holds the knife in the shot for a minute. Like, we know what he's going to use it for, but like, probably we got a good idea. It's so. We'll come back to that. But what I wanted to say about this self delusion, it's like, I mean, like you said, she kind of. Like the evidence is all around her, and I think she's probably her function in the story, of Karen's function in the story, of course, is to represent all of these people, not just women, but exactly. Everyone is not directly involved in it, but they're a relative they're part of the family, whatever, the kids, the uncles and aunties who are old or whatever. The evidence of the crime and the danger is all around them, but I think is all around her, but on some conscious or unconscious level, she chooses it. She even says at one point in the dialogue that she was, or in the voiceover, I admit it, I was turned on by I was turned on by the life, the excitement. So you can't just put it down to like this romantic notion of, you can't put it down to a romantic notion of like love or standing by your man or anything like that. Like you said at the end, it encapsulates it at the end where they're talking to the cop about the witness protection program, about what it really means, what it's going to mean for them. She even tries to wriggle out of it at the last minute. Like, do I have to go? You just need him. Do I have to go? You just need him, right? You just need him. I can stay, right? And he says, no, you can't. You're buggered as well, because they'll try and get to him through you. But I don't know anything. Yeah, you did. Yeah. You knew everything.
Exactly.
And they've got the evidence.
Know something really interesting about that scene?
What's that?
Well, the FBI agent at the end sort of like telling him to get into the witness protection act.
Yeah.
That was Ed. That was Ed McDonald.
Oh, that's playing himself.
He played himself, because
I suppose it's only like 10.
He was there for obviously continuity and how they do this.
Right.
And they were saying, and he said, well, who are you going to have to play me? And they were saying, well, do you want to play yourself? And they were like, really? I was like, well, yeah, let's do a couple of screen casts and see how it goes. And they did. And Martin Scorsese said, no, you're great. Let's do this. So he plays himself.
Wonderful, because it's only like 10 years after the events of the story, because they take place in 1980 and the film was made in 1990, so it's only 10 years old.
It was only 9 years. Yeah, it was 9 years after the real fact. So
it's brilliant. I wanted to say this is a question that's sort of that always leaps to mind when I think about Scorsese's films generally. Do you think Scorsese has a woman problem? What I mean by that is it, because he makes, I mean, obviously Goodfellas, it's mostly about guys, wise ones to be precise.
Yeah.
and that's true of many of his films. He's generally more interested in men than he is in women. I think that's just statistically. There are exceptions, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore and Boxcar Bertha, I guess. But I think for the most part, he's generally like, his films tend to be sausage fests. But interestingly, I think this film for me kind of is perhaps an exception to that rule that I've completely arbitrarily made up. I think this one does at least try to present a kind of female point of view, like what we're saying, that because there's that whole sequence where, when Karen first marries into the marries into the family, and she marries Henry, and she's kind of sitting around with all the other women, all the other wives and girlfriends, and they're all sort of like sitting around with their like lurid clothes, and she's sort of saying, they're all wearing too much eye makeup and all this kind of thing. She's saying on the voiceover. Now in this film, I think that the wives, especially Karen, of course, they do get a fair amount of screen time, but I think they're probably just part of the overall texture of the film, because the film is not really plot. I mean, there is a plot, of course, and it is plot driven to an extent, but really it's more about the texture of the film. It's like it's not so much about the what and when, and it's more about the why and the how, and that's more interesting to me. But what do you, I mean, I don't know, what do you think about that? Do you think,
I think you're right. I mean, I don't think you're wrong. I think you're Scorsese, like most male directors anyway, and particularly during the 90s, it all had a bit of a woman issue that didn't allow women into very, very strong roles unless role was already strong in its own right.
I take issue with your saying most male directors. I mean, I don't know if that's maybe you're right. I don't know, but
I'm just saying from the
certainly a lot of male directors, absolutely,
yeah,
a lot of them,
not all of them.
enough to make you nervous. But
exactly. But I think you're right with this movie. He does try to claw things back again. Going back to the commentaries, when Lorraine Brooker is talking about her character Karen Hill, she was always saying that Scorsese was saying that she was the star of the picture, she was the star of the film, and he let her do quite a few things. The scene where Karen's gone to the girlfriend's flat and banging on the buzzers and yelling at her. Right? The kids, the children,
her children.
They were her children.
Her children playing her real life children playing her character's children.
First, it was her real life children, but also she was saying that in that sort of situation, she might not be able to get a babysitter. She might not be, she's a woman frantically trying to, get her man back, and she'd be doing whatever she could. And she would probably have her kids by her side. So that was, Lorraine actually, making that sort of suggestion to say, what will Karen be doing in this sort of situation? Would she have a kid? Would she be on her own? So originally it was supposed to be just her on her own. And she was like, Lauren was like, no,
in the script,
she's a woman. She's a mother, So I think definitely for this particular picture, I think he was trying to right some wrongs. But I think,
I don't necessarily think of it
character in this film anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to give the impression that I'm saying, he should make films about women for this, or whatever, for the sake of it. I just think it's. I'm sort of just trying to get around. I think what I'm trying to do is introduce and possibly shoot down the idea that he is a very male-orientated director. I think he probably is on balance, and a lot of male filmmakers are, and some female filmmakers are. Not many of them, but I think, it's an interesting subject.
Take that question on to what he made next, Cape Fear.
Yeah.
The portrayal in that story, because there are two very strong female characters in that story.
And who's the protagonist in that movie? Is it? Arguably, it's the whole family, I guess. Yeah. But interesting. Yeah, Characters.
Yes.
Let's talk about the characters now. Henry. Let's start with Henry. He's the main character, ostensibly, even though you were just saying that. Scorsese saw Karen as the main character, but it's most of the story is told from Henry's point of view.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta. He had that.
Brilliant. Such a good choice. I also want to give a heads out to Ellen Lewis, the casting director.
Yeah.
Because she did a fabulous job. Because Martin wasn't 100% set on Ray, and she sort of like fought his corner. And he was really up for the role. Really, really had been reading the book and doing, lots and lots of research. So, 6 months before, he was chosen, he was like really, I think it was about 9 months. He was really invested in the role. He really wanted it. So it was hit and miss right up to the end before he got the role. And I'm so glad he did, because I think he did such a great job.
I think Ray Liotta is, he's got that fantastic character actor face, isn't he? He's got that the pockmarked skin, the thick lashed, piercing blue eyes. He really, to put it crudely, he looks like a criminal, right?
Yeah.
All I'd seen him in before Goodfellas was, do you remember a movie called Something Wild?
Yes.
Which from the mid '80s, which I don't know if I ever saw it, but I did see the trailer. Because I was a bit young, but at the time. But I saw the trailer. There's a shot of him in the trailer. He's staring into the camera. He's like blowing out cigarette smoke, and he's looking at you, like looking at the audience, like he'd think nothing of slitting your throat. He's just, but he's got that. He cast him for his. He would have been a great silent movie actor. He's got that face. He doesn't need anything else. We didn't need. What is it? What's that thing Gloria Swanson says in Sunset Boulevard? We didn't need something. We didn't need dialogue. We had faces, or something, whatever it was. Henry lies so easily, doesn't he?
Yes,
they all do, really. But like to him, it's as natural as breathing. Like when they're in the restaurant and Karen turns to him and says, what do you? I think it's at the end of the Copacabana shot. I think
Yeah, yeah.
when
What do you do?
she turns to him and says, "What do you do?" and he just says,
Oh
without
God.
missing a beat, he just says, "Like I'm in construction."
Yeah,
Like it's nothing. Like not even a
yeah,
pause.
exactly.
In most movies, if you want to communicate that the actor is the character is lying,
Yeah,
you
it's
know, he's
like
sort of having to
you,
say like,
uh,
"I'm in construction." Yeah,
exactly,
exactly. But he just sort of said, "I'm in construction." Like he's practiced it.
exactly. And she goes,
But
"Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah." And like
yeah, yeah,
union representative.
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
union, yeah, a union delegate. Yeah, that was it. But you know, but you can't kid a kidder.
Hmm.
Because when he, do you remember the scene where Paulie, when after Billy Bats has gone missing,
Yes. Yeah.
and Paulie sort of like gets him in the corner and sort of put in like at a party or something, all friendly, like
Mm.
puts his arm around him and says like, I'm hearing a lot of things about Billy Bats. He's saying he's gone missing, he's disappeared. They're trying to find him. Got everybody around the whole city trying to find this mother. Didn't say it. Now, my better half, she said to me at that point in the movie, "Do you think Paulie knows?"
Mm.
Do you think Paulie
Yeah.
knows at that point that they've killed him?
Yeah. I
Spoiler
think.
alert.
Yeah. Exactly. And then yeah, there's a lot of that again in the commentary where they're talking about the when things were coming up and it's like, yeah, I knew that Paulie knew at this point and I knew that
Right.
knew stuff at this point. And so
I
again,
suppose
this
it's I suppose it's
whole,
one of those things where it's up to the actor, it's up to the
yeah,
up to the audience, really. We can make
exactly. But I
we can
think Ray,
debate it.
did a fantastic job, and particularly the scene right at the end where he just does that deadpan and straight look towards the camera, break the fourth
Yeah.
wall in the courtroom, and just
Oh, it does. Walks up to the camera.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so brilliant. It was just so just that kind of
Tour de force.
seamlessness to go from that kind of like acting as the character to then break that fourth wall and just go straight to it and go into that and finishing off the narration at the end of the
Yeah.
film. I thought
Turning
that
the voiceover into a face over at the last minute.
exactly. Oh.
Okay, what about Tommy, as played by Tommy
Yes.
DeVito? No relation to Danny.
No.
As played by Joe Pesci.
I
Now,
mean, Pesci was amazing. He's just
yeah,
brilliant in it. But what was
he
really,
won.
I didn't know this, but the real Tommy was a complete. Well, as Henry Hill actually called him in the commentary, he described Tommy as, forgive the language, but he called him a deadly sick fuck. But what was really interesting for Henry, again, looking at the film being made, was the real Tommy was like 6 foot, really big,
Right.
big guy,
Yeah.
And there's this little guy playing him, and he's like, but he got all the mannerisms, he got him everything right. It was just the only thing that was different was the stature of
That's
the actor.
interesting, isn't it? Because to me, Joe Pesci's performance has really strong, short guy, chip on the shoulder about being short energy. You know what I mean? He's got that sort of. He's got that sort of like, okay, I'm short, so I'm going to take it out of the whole world. But if the real guy was like a big guy, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because Tommy is an absolute 100% psychopath. He's like, he is an irredeemable scumbag.
Mm-hmm.
But he is so much fun to watch.
Yes.
He gets most of the best one-liners. Like he's one of those guys. He's like every pub's got one. Like he's one of those guys who's just like he sits in the corner like he's holding court. He's amusing all his friends very loudly in the corner of the pub, grandstanding. But unfortunately, however, if you annoy him, he might just blow you away or cut something off that you don't want cut off. But the funny thing is, like when he's with his mum, he behaves like this sort of good little boy.
Yeah.
Like because that's what she thinks he is. He's genuinely nice to her, as a lot of these people are to their loved ones. But like if you're in the family, if you're sort of part of the family in the broadest sense of the word, you're worth looking after. You mean something. But like it's just the rest of the world, everyone else outside this community that doesn't count. Like to the point where they're not even human beings. They're nothing. They're like kill them, yeah, whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah. But like I love that bit where during the dinner scene earlier on that we were talking about earlier on, when they've got Billy Bats in the back of the car and they're stopping off and he's got blood all down his shirt and they go to visit Mum's house and she's awake and she makes them dinner. Well, they're sitting there having dinner and they're looking at her painting
Yeah.
She pulls up that painting of like, this is a painting I did. And it's like, it's the guy, the two dogs looking the other way, and the guy in the boat. And Jimmy, you know, De Niro sort of points out that the guy in the picture says like, he says like, kind of also someone we know, like that. You know, that was a good freeze because that was my Robert De Niro face. I like that freeze. That I approve of that freeze, computer. Well done, little pat on the head there. Because like, you know, he does, and then like Tommy's reaction to that is like, oh yeah, he does, and he says like he says something like, holy fuck. And he doesn't say the F word. He stops short a couple of times in that scene. Yeah. He stops short of saying the F word because he's in his mum's house. I thought that was a nice touch. I got one more thing about Tommy, which is a fashion statement I want to make. Tommy wears that. I'm trying to think how to. It keeps freezing, so I can't show you. That's sort of like that collar where it's like it's hardly any gap. The two points of the collar almost next to each other.
About here.
Yeah, exactly. And the tie is sort of hidden beneath it. Yeah. Now that he wears that, first of all, he wears that. That's sort of like a 1950s look, I guess, and he sort of wears that when he's young. But he wears that well into the early 70s when the Billy Bats thing happens. So all through his life, because it's like basically saying like he's never going to change his ways, he's never going to move with the times, he's going to, you know, it's a nice bit of costuming there. But did you notice Billy Bats in the bar scene when he's getting shinebacks, all that? He's got the same collar.
Yeah.
So like I was looking at that thinking, wow, and Billy's a bit. Not only has Billy got the same collar, but Billy's like.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think it's more of also a wise guy look. Those kind of long collars.
But by that point, this is the early 70s, and they're the only two still wearing it. Tommy's, all the E's. Henry and Jimmy have moved on fashion-wise. They've kind of moved with the times a little bit. Henry's hair's a bit longer and whatever, you know. But Tommy is still dressing like Billy. Yeah. And also Billy is also like hypersensitive and short-tempered, just like Tommy is. So I feel like Billy is who Tommy might have grown into if he'd actually lived a bit longer.
Yeah, very true.
So I thought it was an interesting bit, a nice bit of costuming there, and as well as the performances. What do we have to say about Jimmy, Robert De Niro? Now, I mean, I've always kind of thought of him as being his character as being a bit more subdued than the others, but actually this time I kind of noticed. But he's not, is he? He's not. No. He's not. How did he get in? How did he get in with the?
Well, he was just one of these guys that, because this is the other thing about Paulie, because if you think of the Italian families, and most of the Italian families had mainly just Italian gangsters, are very inbred. Paulie's racket was he would bring people in from outside. He would have Irish gangsters.
Oh, and Jewish guys like Maury and stuff. Jewish guys, of course.
So there was a much more of a mix, and that's why his racket grew bigger. And
because it took advantage of the melting pot.
Yeah, because whereas the other Italian families would just keep it much more in-house.
Yeah. Jimmy, though, now this is the thing. The thing about Jimmy, I never noticed about Jimmy before. I've always thought of him as being a more sort of subdued kind of character, which he kind of is. But every time I watch the film, I have this kind of like amnesia effect. Like every time I watch it, I remember. No, he's not. He is just as psychotic as Tommy.
Yeah,
he's just as bad. He's just a bit quieter and more subtle.
The reason he got pulled into Paulie's sort of circle was he was well known in America. He was well known in the gangster world. He was, one of the hitmen. He would go and whack people over left, right, and centre for whoever was going to be paying the highest money, sort of thing. So he was, when he was pulled in, he was already kind of well known in that sort of circuit.
Come back to that dinner scene with Tommy's mum again one more time. Incidentally, you know who played Tommy's mum, don't you?
You're going to tell me it's one of the Golden Girls.
Yeah, it was Betty White. Yeah. That would have been. Do you know what?
That would be perfect.
That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? I can sort of see that working in a weird kind of way. But it wasn't. It wasn't Betty White. It wasn't any of the Golden Girls. It was an actress called Catherine Scorsese.
Really?
Yeah, Martin's mum. He put both of his parents. He put both of his parents in the movie. His dad Charles had a small role in the movie. I'm doing your job here. You're the one who does the research and has the little factoid.
I remember that now, and I forgot to jot it down because
but no, she's. Anyway, in that scene, the point I wanted to make is in that scene, like when they're sort of when he says about the painting, like, you know, it kind of looks like someone we know. That whole scene, he starts laughing, Tommy starts laughing,
and it pans out.
You know, they're laughing and joking around
Yeah.
because, like, even though, and we know, of course, and they know,
yeah,
but his mum doesn't know that Billy Bats' supposedly dead body's in the boot of the car at that point.
Yeah.
But so they're laughing, he's laughing around, Tommy's laughing around, but Henry, he's the only one who kind of looks troubled. You know, he's not sort of. He's the, but I mean, I don't think he's troubled out of any sort of. I mean, I don't think he's troubled out of any distaste for the moral implications of what they've done. He's just troubled because he's worried they're going to get caught.
Well,
he's just worried they're going to get caught.
He knows that a made man has just been murdered.
Yeah, yeah.
And
but
what you don't do.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, what that means is, even though Henry's not necessarily like, oh, we've done a bad thing, I feel bad about this. It's not. I don't think it's that. But what it is, he's like, he's not quite. He knows what's going on. He understands the situation. He's not quite psychotic enough to blissfully ignore the gravity of the situation. They are. Mm. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And by the end, you know, I think Jimmy's last scene, pretty much until he gets arrested, is, you know, Karen goes to see him and he says, like, oh yeah, you know, she needs some money, or he gives her some money, and he says, like, oh, we got a lot of Dior dresses around the corner, down the end of the street. Go on, go and have a look, you know, go on. Yeah, just down there, come on, fly down the street. And he's sending her down the street, and like, and she's so paranoid at this point, and so is he. And we're not sure either, because that's the beauty of the film. We're not sure either. And she sort of like edges down the street, looking in the alleyway, like, where the guys are like shifting stuff, and like, are they just going to kill me? And he's just trying to get me, you know, take me out. At that point, he's as ready to, you know, for all we know, he's as ready to kill Karen as he is to cut his toenails.
Yeah, I know.
But okay, so what do we make of Karen? What do we think of Karen?
I was just about to say, I think her portrayal.
Not a Karen.
Not her Karen, but yeah, Karen. I think she did a cracking job. I think Lorraine, did a really, really good job. I really enjoyed watching her quite a few times on, you know, the times, you know, that we've watched this film, or I have over the last week or so.
Well, he watched it 3 times recently.
No, I've seen it 3 times this week over the amount of commentaries. And again, one of the commentaries, towards the end, where they're going through the witness protection thing, because obviously they're coming in, they're actors, they're used to, and there's this guy who's an actual real FBI agent, doesn't know how to act, and is just playing himself. You know, she was talking to him like, oh, what part of New York, what part of the state's you from? And they're actually from the same part of New York State. And she was being all really nice, and then, you know, they got into acting. Of course, she's like really like bitching back at him, and like, you know, in the scene and stuff. So like after the acting, she was like coming back to him, going, "Are you okay? You okay?" And I think she done a great job, and I think it really catapulted, because I mean, I still to this day haven't seen very much of The Sopranos, and of course, so many actors from this went on to do The Sopranos.
Yeah.
A lot of what they used in this, and I think made Sopranos so good, as well. But no, I'm just, I think she's a really strong role, really strong character, and I think Lorraine Brock did such a great job. I think, hats off to her.
I've always found Lorraine Bracco's performance a little bit unconvincing. Now, bear with me on this, right? The Sopranos, she's good in The Sopranos. And you know, over the course of whatever it was, 7 seasons, 5 seasons, whatever it was, you know, I think it's an actor gets a better chance in a long-running TV show to show what they can do than they do in a 2-hour movie anyway. But
really
leaving that aside, I think so. I've always had this kind of idea that she's either not a very good actress or just not very good at this. Probably completely unfair.
Yep.
So, I've had the same in terms of this movie. I've had a similar sort of feeling about Ray Liotta. I've always had the idea that he's not very good in this either.
Okay.
Now, I don't. But watching it this time, I kind of thought, is it that they're not very good actors, or they're not giving very good performances, or I feel like I sort of want to give them the movie. The movie is so good
Yeah.
And I believe in it so much, and I believe in their characters so much, that maybe I should just give them the benefit of the doubt and suggest that if I feel that their acting is a bit overblown or amateurish, like there's a lot of screaming and collapsing to the floor, it's quite sort of theatrical kind of acting, but it kind of makes their characters seem naive and inexperienced, which is what they're supposed to be for the movie to work.
That's what she was kind of portraying for at least, say, the first half.
Yeah.
Until like the prison scenes.
I think what I'm getting at is like it's kind of it kind of feels like I'm describing it like it's a flaw in the movie or a flaw in their performances, but it kind of makes the movie work as well. It kind of actually feeds. It kind of works.
Can I interject there? Because I actually want to say something, because it's something I came across that's quite weird. Okay, now I'm going to bear with me for a sec.
Okay,
obviously it was a commentary, but it was almost like you were listening to just the making of documentary.
Yeah.
So they're not because it says down. They're not sitting down actually watching the film. They're just talking about the film and talking about how the film was made. And obviously they've put people in, snipped them into the commentary to connect with that part of the movie. But it's not as if the other commentary, when it was Henry and Ed, they were like, oh yeah, in this scene, how well was this portrayed over when this actually happened and stuff. So you can actually tell it's a proper sort of like a live commentary. But going back to that first commentary where it felt like I was just listening to the audio of a making of them talking about how the film was made and how things got done, I couldn't follow what they were saying because I kept getting drawn in to the visuals of the film.
Okay.
Which is, so I'm desperately trying to carry on the thought what Martin's talking about and the screenwriter's talking about and the casting director's talking about and actors are talking about, and but I'm still just getting totally drawn in to the film.
Yeah.
And I couldn't follow, and I kept having to pause and like, what did they say there? And kind of rewind back. So quite interesting to what you were saying about, what you were saying, almost like feel like they were hamming it up a little bit. I kind of felt the other way. Just the visuals of the film itself. I mean, it did have the text dialogue at the bottom, but
the film is. I mean, like we said at the beginning of this, the stylistics of the movie.
Well, not just that; it was just the acting, the physical, even without the words.
Yeah,
you could see the passion in the lines being said, and so even though you couldn't actually hear what they were saying in the movie, or it was volume right down, but you just had the text at the bottom of the page. So I was getting drawn back into the film, even though I'm trying to listen to what Martin Scorsese is saying about this particular or how something was done.
It sounds to me like what you're saying is a perfect illustration of what's that thing Alfred Hitchcock once said about ideally, I'm paraphrasing, of course, ideally, with a really good picture, the sound could go off in the middle of the screen, and you'd still be able to understand what's happening. It's like that, isn't it? It's like a movie is a visual, cinema is a visual storytelling medium, and dialogue is nice, but ideally you don't necessarily need it, or at least there's a story going on in the visuals that isn't going on in the dialogue, or that you don't, the picture tells the story on its own, or even if it's a slightly different story or a slightly deeper story or whatever. Good dialogue is great, but it's not. It's not an essential part of cinema, really.
A movie is.
It's talking as a purist sort of point of view, but
a movie is a collage of all the working parts coming together.
Yeah,
it's not just one thing. It never is.
Yeah.
I know Spielberg said that sound is only 50% of the movie, which in some ways he is correct, but it might only be 50%, not 100%. It's conglomerate. I can't even get the words out. It's a collection of everything together.
I've always thought that as an art form, cinema is kind of it's a combination of not all the other art forms, but a lot of the other art forms. It's a combination of theatre, it's a combination of it's photography, drama. Well, I said theatre, literature, kind of, music. What's the other one? Art. You know, like art as in painting. You know, it's sort of a combination of at least 3 or 4 other art forms, and when you combine those elements together really, really well, it's Jeff's kiss, as Kevin Smith deliberately mispronounced it.
All right, one nice little kind of thing again from the from the commentaries.
One little from the commentaries.
You will hear, you know, it's something we've probably heard. Well, most of us would have heard in you know, kind of the Italian gangster movies, but the term WOP, WOP,
yes, which is a kind of slur against Italian people.
Yeah, and basically I found out where it actually comes from, what its meaning is, which is
again, where does that come from?
Well, it goes back to American immigration, can as well.
Just in case.
Well, this is what from Martin Scorsese. What Martin?
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing with him. Just saying what this says.
But basically, if you think of American immigration at the turn of not turn of the century, but the turn of last century.
The Ellis Island sort of era, yeah.
Exactly. So there was a lot of Italians. This is when a lot of the Italian immigrants were coming over to America. So we're talking like 1890s to sort of 1910. That was
like Godfather Part 2, Little Vito.
Now, the vast majority of these Italians were South Italian. So they're all Naples and, you know, Southern Italian rather than
Sicily.
Sicily and all of that area. And there was a very strong, you know, connections to that, especially in New York. But what was really interesting is at that time, the Italian government was quite eager to get rid of a lot of these immigrants. There was basically a population issue in South Italy, so they just wanted to let these people go, get off, and, you know, make new lives for themselves and make life a bit easier for the rest of the Italian state, I suppose. Now, the issue was so many of these people that wanted to leave, or the people that the Italian government wanted to get rid of, a lot of them were illiterate. So the term WOP comes from these people came over and they didn't have passports. They weren't given passports. The Italian government just gave them a piece of paper.
I think I know where you're going with this, but go on.
Yeah. So WOP stands for without passport. WOP. That's what it stands for. So it's a derogatory term used for people immigrants coming into the country that kind of illiterate, or, you know, you're not even good enough to have a passport.
So there's a stigma about not having a passport. It means you're illiterate, and it means you're an idiot or whatever. Yeah, but right, gotcha.
So that's where that kind of term comes from. But then the kind of flip side to that was that a lot of these Italians that are coming in, because they couldn't read or write, what they were very good at, and this is very much a cultural thing, is they were all brilliant storytellers. Because they were illiterate. You know, they would have all of these family stories from way back when, and it's not just
tradition.
It's their traditional stories of their families and their families' and what happened. So, and when you listen to a lot of Italian gangster movies, and people, you know, these people would just sit around and talk all day. They would always be in the backyard or out on the street and just talking, telling these stories over and over again. And again, you know, when you listen to the actors talking to some of the real life criminals, the real life gangsters, they would all be sort of like retelling all these old stories of their families or things that they've done. But they would always say that, oh yeah, I had a friend of mine. My friend of mine did this, or my cousin did this, and my brother.
Yeah.
You know full well they're talking about themselves. And this is kind of what the film is also about, to kind of say, you know, we want to keep telling these stories. This is what it's life like to be in with, you know, this circle of these types of people.
And
so
doing
this
it
is what Scorsese was trying to get across, and this is what
in cinema
was trying to get across in the book as well.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. I never thought of it like that, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, and of course, a lot of these, and a lot of the people, not to put too fine a point on it, a lot of the characters in the movie probably didn't finish school, probably didn't even pay much attention. A lot of them are probably barely literate as well.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. You know, it's kind of, this is their sort of alternative to, it's their alternative to traditional education. and they're alternative to traditional occupation as well. You know, they don't go and get a regular job, working in a factory, getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So pick up their books and put it over there. It's like, no, it's this is their alternative. It's like an alternative lifestyle, but without the trappings of what that term usually means. It's a different kind of thing. Just out of interest, Warp in the dictionary says, first of all, it says informal offensive. So,
yeah,
you know, I just want to make it plain to any Italian or listeners. You know, I'm not using it like that.
We're not stigmatizing you in any way, please.
No, I'm not using the term. I'm not intending to use the term offensively for whatever it's worth. It says an Italian or other Southern European, actually. So, but it says here origin of WOP, origin of the meaning of the word. It says, and this is another possibility. It says perhaps from Italian guapo, which means bold or showy.
Yeah.
So I mean, if this film isn't bold or showy, I'd like to know what film is bold and showy. Yeah, and I mean that very much as a compliment on all fronts.
Yeah.
I want to say something about the soundtrack. What a soundtrack!
And I do from one of the first CDs I got.
Oh, you bought a soundtrack album? Oh, nice.
Yeah, I got a soundtrack
well, back in the day when it came out.
Yeah, back in
the sweet.
You know, when in my our price days. I saw
because it's like so much of a lot of it is like most of it probably is kind of era appropriate, you know. Like,
it's very era appropriate
because Bobby Vinton's in the film, isn't he? It's not really him. It's no, it's not really him. It's like I think what I noticed in the cast, it says it's Bobby Vinton, you know, the real Bobby Vinton, the singer, Blue Velvet, and all that. He's in as a character. He's in the movie when they're all like in the club. He's singing, but Bobby Vinton is played in the movie by somebody called Robbie Vinton. Now I'm guessing that's his son. I guess whatever. So some of it is kind of in, you know, it's kind of, what do they call it? What's the word? I've got to use it all the time. Diegetic. It's diegetic music. It's, you know, it's in the characters are hearing it too. But there's so much non-diegetic music where it's just us hearing it, and it's like, I mean, the obvious one that always leaps to my mind is
Layla.
When the dead bodies after Jimmy, like you said, Jimmy's had everyone whacked. The bodies are tumbling out of the garbage truck to Layla by Derek and the Dominoes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just the pink Cadillac and with the sort of like, you know, with the blood.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so many great music. And at the end, again, in that final act with the big exciting the Coke scene, as we're calling it now. So many songs in that. Was it Jump Into the Fire? Harry Nilsson. They've got Muddy Waters, Manish Boy. Is it Manish Boy? I think it's Manish Boy.
Yes.
So much great stuff in that. And it's like it's all just like it's so the music is chosen. I mean, Scorsese, you know, he's famous for it.
A lot of it, some of the older tracks are, you know, stuff of his childhood, and you know, he was like
nostalgia kind of vibe.
It's nostalgia stuff. So particularly at the early part of the film where they're all like standing outside and talking, you know, on the street corners and that sort of thing.
It could be on the radio, couldn't it? The music could be on the radio. Yeah,
stuff of that era of that time. And that's what I like about it. It moves through. The music moves through as the period moves through in the movie as well. It's very, very of its time where you are in at the state of the movie, which I absolutely love. And yeah, as I said, I got the soundtrack, but then we're both just as much music nerds as we are movie nerds. So
and it finishes up with Sid Vicious, and you know, I mean, indeed. that works too. It's kind of it's probably the most. I feel like the Sid Vicious's version of My Way that plays over the closing credits. I feel like that was a choice where they probably thought. I could sort of imagine like Scorsese having a conversation with himself, almost thinking like, should he use that one? Should he use that song? Or should he use something a little more classic?
I think there was something about trying to get a Rolling Stones track and they couldn't get it, and then they threatened to use an Eagles track instead. And that really pissed the Stones off.
Well, there's a few Stones. There's at least 2 or 3 Stones tracks in there, isn't there? There's,
I think the money they were going to have to pay for it was something stupid like 150 grand just
for 5 seconds of a song, 10 seconds of a song.
Track instead, and then they say, "Oh no, you can have it for free."
No, I can't do that. No, you're going to use one of ours. Yeah. That's my Bill Wyman impression.
Yeah.
Okay, conclusions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's wrap this up. I think we've been going for about 2 hours.
Sorry, before we fit,
yeah,
a little snippet. Sorry, just because there's so many sort of lovely little bits and pieces. Again, I've forgotten who's the director of Shawshank Redemption.
Frank Darabont.
In one of the commentaries that I was watching, sort of making of documentaries, they had loads of like directors and stuff, and he said absolutely something lovely about this film. He said like during the filming of Shawshank, every Sunday he would watch Goodfellas for inspiration, just pure inspiration for what you could do with a movie. Obviously, nothing like Goodfellas, and you know, Shawshank is, you know, ideally one of the top 100 films of all time.
So, conclusions. Let's wrap this up. We've been at this for a long time. It might not feel like that. If I can edit this down to less than an hour, I'll be astonished.
Good luck.
But it's a lot. There's a lot in this film. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
If the video ends up being an hour and a half long, so be it.
It's
and the film is a long film. It's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But it's so pacily directed. It's so briskly directed. Yeah. You just don't notice.
You won't notice it. Even where I'd said about the 3 separate acts, they just drift in.
Yeah.
It seems seamless. I mean, there's a significant cutscene as they go from act to act, but it doesn't feel like it. It just pans through. It's so beautifully done.
I think of Goodfellas as like because it's sort of. I think I was saying something like this earlier, that the plot is actually kind of it's pretty sort of, you know, based on a true story, so it's not actually a standard sort of Hollywood plot, even though even if it does have that 3-act structure.
Fall ranks to riches, but it's rise fall. So
but the plot is because of the real life element. I think the plot is kind of quite complicated, perhaps needlessly so, but it doesn't matter because the film's not about plot. I don't think the film is about plot. I think the film is about texture. I think it's supposed to sit there and luxuriate in all the finer details. I think it's like I think of the film as a delicious 5-course Italian meal.
Yeah,
hopefully you don't get stabbed with the bill at the end.
Yeah.
I think of Goodfellas is like it's proper cinema, whatever that means.
Yes,
but it's also hugely entertaining. You can't take your eyes off it.
It is again one of those films you switch on and it's already halfway through. It's 11 o'clock at night, and you will just end up watching it until the end.
Yeah. Who needs sleep? You know.
Yeah.
Because that combination, it's a pretty rare combination, isn't it? Like, you know, art and entertainment.
Yeah.
In perfect harmony. It
just takes you on such an amazing journey.
Yeah.
And
I'd say a ride. I'd say it's more like a ride than a journey. It's like
ride, And as soon as you get 1 or 2 seconds onto that ride, you're just going to follow it to the end.
Yeah. Should we call it a day?
Yep. Okay then. So I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
I hope you enjoyed the movie as much as we have, at least.
Exactly.
And,
we're grateful for you listening to us waffling on.
Yes, I hope it wasn't too much waffle for you. Would you like to, like on YouTube videos, what a lot of YouTubers like to do is say that whole spiel about, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell and, you know, pat the dog and sniff the whatever. I don't know where I'm going with that. And you know,
we will be interested to hear your comments, but of course, this is our opinion on things anyway. You may agree and disagree on many of the things that we've talked about, and that's fine, and that's what everybody's entitled to do. So
this is a forum for discussion, not just, you know, in the first instance it's between me and Alan, but in the secondary instance, ideally it's between whatever you guys want to say below the line. We may reply to your comments, we may not. Depends how many we get. If we get like 5, if we get 1 comment, I'm just going to be so pathetically, embarrassingly grateful. I'll be groveling all over that person.
Like one of our friends.
Yeah, he'll be from someone we know. Yeah, almost certainly. It'll probably be my better half, my missus.
Mhm.
Oh, you told me to. You said
Yeah.
the message. Oh, I left a comment. I just said very good.
Anyway,
What do you want me to say?
right. So
Thank you all for watching.
until next time, where we're
Till next
reviewing
time.
another one of the classics. Doesn't have to be a modern classic. It's we're going to be looking at good
Well, I
film
think
from
next we did. I don't know if you remember. We did have a one in mind for next time. So
We
I
did.
don't know. Assuming, of course, we put these in the same order.
Well, we
I'll
don't
leave
have
that
to. I
out
don't
'cause-
think so. We leave it a secret, and you'll find out what
Yeah.
the next one will be.
Yeah. Exciting, eh? Yeah, I know, right? I know. Suspense. See? Yeah. Thank you all for watching.
Or will it be someone else? So yeah. Okay.
We'll find out next week or whenever it is.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching. Mom's getting tired.
Until we get the next drink in.
Yes. Oh.
From Alan and Stu with Rum with a View. Goodbye.
Goodbye.